Anyway, after college, Justin began his career as the Economic Development Administrator for the city of Worcester, where he served for 8 years. He next served as the president of the Worcester Area Chamber of Commerce from 2013 until 2019. In 2019, he transitioned to the private sector, where he and a business partner acquired Compact, a regional warehousing distribution service company located in Worcester with 55 full-time employees. As an adjunct to his work with Compact, the Compact team has grown its real estate footprint, now standing at over 1.2 million square feet of warehousing and industrial space, becoming one of the top 10 real estate tax contributors in Wayne County. Apropos of today's talk, Justin has become involved in residential real estate development. In 2021, he founded the Wooster Development Company, a local investor partnership focused on real estate development and redevelopment in the Worcester area. We'll hear today about how the company has spearheaded initiatives that have facilitated adding nearly 100 homes already and soon to be some 200 homes in the Worcester market. Have you ever heard the question, why don't they do something about that? Well, our speaker today is someone who hears that question and then does something about that. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Justin Starlin.
Well, Doug, thanks for the introduction. I can tell you that I had mentors through my almost 25 years professionally. You've been not only a great mentor of mine, a good advisor, but a very close friend, and I appreciate the kind words, my man. So I do want to talk about a development that we are working on. It has not been approved yet. It's under city reviews. So this is the proposed. I know Vince is watching me from a planning perspective, so the thing is not done. But we do want to talk about a development, and then also want to talk just about market conditions as well. There we go. So locally, for those who have watched housing, maybe trying to buy or sell, considering it, it's a tight and increasingly expensive market, but things are starting to shift a little bit. You can see that there's a slight favor in the buyers, on the buyer's side of things, as homes are selling relatively quickly, but the rapid pace that we've seen over the last year and a half, it is starting to soften a little bit. Prices are still high here locally, but again, you'll see the median price, we're going to go over that. That's been higher, but the rate of increase has moderated as well. Inventory is limited. We're going to talk about that. And then also, again, talking about it's starting to lean towards the buyer's market as far as prices starting to moderate. Interest rates are softening. We've seen that on a national level, right? Giving potential new buyers more purchasing power. I thought it would be interesting looking at our June and July stats. The median sale price here locally is $243,000. It's up 5.2% year over year. So things have become increasingly expensive. The median days on the market, I thought this was crazy, 6 days. So if you have a good house to sell, it's going to turn real quick, probably go above asking. There are houses that are sitting. Some people are trying to be opportunistic in a tight market, and those are sitting, and you'll see prices slowly come down once they get to realistic numbers. And the number of houses sold has increased. We're going to talk about that. And the median list price is $267,000. This is a slide that 2 years ago showed some prices of real estate where we were like, oh man, it's starting real high. And then there's stock amongst the realtors, how it's starting to soften. So these are 3 samples. I try to do like samples. Bowman Street, 199,900. Here's one that's 300,000 in the middle. Here's one 325. And then the last one was a lower end house, 70,000 bucks. This is the lowest one I can find, 140. The biggest thing that you see in this last one, or let's go to the second one, 300,000. The estimated payment is $1,700 2 years ago. There in the middle. And like is now over 2,000 bucks. Interest rates definitely have had an effect on the market as well. For realtors, they always look at months of supply of inventory, and I wanted to look at that nationally. We're at inventory is 4.1 months of supply nationally there in the center. One of the hottest markets in the US is the greater Columbus area. Delaware County is one of the hottest markets in the nation. Months of inventory is 1. So over to your right, you can see she's sitting beside 1 month. We're at 1.57. That's April 2024. That's a misprint. But in April of 2022, it was half a month. So again, low inventory, quick sales, and rising prices. Months of inventory over the last couple of years, I think that's interesting to see. You can just see that to your left and to the right, historic count of active listings. The project that we worked on, I think, is kind of interesting. You're going to see a lot of activity in July of 2023, the project that we previously are undertaking right now, and you can see how that has spiked up. Let's talk about that a little bit. I will tell you that though we're talking about one project that we're doing, there are a lot of local and national investment that has came to Worcester in the last couple of years. So these are some of the projects that are being undertaken currently, and I know that the city would tell you there's more than that, but there's some of the highlights. Anything from single family, a lot of condos are coming in, and some longstanding investors in the community. One sitting in this room who has been the quintessential professional to me and our partnership is Merle Stutzman and Weaver Custom Homes. They did nothing but a class act when we continue to try to bring homes to Worcester. And they made a big investment on Crooked Creek, buying that from Ratcliffe and putting all the infrastructure in, and we appreciate his input and support of what we're doing as well. Doug mentioned highlighting rent versus own. A lot of people, when we talk about $300,000 homes, the discussion on affordability is one that people are all over the place. If you build a house for $100,000, well, it's virtually impossible, right? So this is a sample of a $300,000 home at 6.5% interest rate. The mortgage would be around $1,516. With taxes and stuff, it gets up to about $1,800. You say, okay, if you're in the market to either buy or rent, so what am I going to pay if I'm going to rent something comparable? And look at the rent prices. So rents are anything low end. I think I found one at $1,300 that's comparable all the way to $2,300. So rents are really high. We feel as if we bring a price or lower than that, people can make the decision to own rather than rent and become almost a permanent part of the community is what we'd like to see. And the city has done such a great job. Our city administration has continued to attract industrial investment, job growth, right? But that's felt, there's been a real local pressure on the labor market, finding good people, right? So these are just some of the investments over the last 10 years. And what that does is obviously, there's a demand for housing, and we felt as if we were onto something when we did Spring Run, which we're going to talk about, and then we're going to continue that investment with our next project. Doug kind of hit on this. Wooster Development Company, local investment group, looking to make obviously investments in real estate and redevelopment. So our first project, and just to highlight this because we learned a lot, is Spring Run up by Oak Hill and the high school right across from the softball diamonds. That you haven't seen it for the last 4 months because it's been under construction all summer. So when the construction ends this fall, I think people will be surprised how much activity is happening up there. Just want to go through some aerials to kind of put it in perspective. I'm a picture guy. So here's March 1, 2022, when the land was acquired. June 1 of 22, skin the entire site back. July 1, 22, you can start seeing some shape here. September 15th, we had half the road in, so we could start our model home off to your right. November 2nd, there was a push to get the whole development done in one phase. So off to your left, you can see we've got the infrastructure in. Believe it or not, December 10th, we were paving. So we got the entire project done in one season, which was a good push for us. And you can see the model home down there off to your right was started. The idea was that in the spring, hopefully they're able to market and push, that the lots are available. May 1 of 23, you can start to see things green up a little bit. You've got the model home in, and we started to market and sell. October 1 of 23, you're starting to see some homes there. You can see in the middle, fall coming on. April of 24, more homes. And then the biggest push from April 24, you're going to watch one aerial where we've been just blown away by April 24 to now today. So April 24 to July. And this is just a week and a half ago. So there are close to 57, 58 homes that are either built or under construction. We kind of talked about our numbers and where things are at, but we're really starting to see that development shake out. Our projections show that this development will be completely sold out by the first quarter of 25, which is timely with kind of what we're looking at as far as our next investment. These homes are higher than we anticipated. The average sale is $384,000. We won't shy away from that. It's higher than what we came to the market in, but the location and proved that this was probably the right product to bring. So what did we learn on the first project, and why are we doing something else? Well, we learned the demand for new construction is high, especially given the market prices for used homes. So when you see ranches, small ranches out in the county going for $350, you can get into a new home. Similarly, maybe I can just do that. Not everybody wants to maintain a yard. I'm a country boy, but a lot of my friends are like, listen, I want to come home, I want to get on the computer, I really don't want to talk to anybody, right? And if someone mows my yard, that'd be cool, right? We've seen that. We've also seen aging populations say, I'm tired of coming home and mowing, right? And all I want to do is just, I'm starting to get in my golden years. I just want to come home and relax. And if I want to take off for a trip, everything's taken care of. So that's been interesting to see the mix of people. Maybe, and I have no information to quantify this, maybe the most diverse neighborhood that we have. So we have foreign engineers from Luke. We've got young generation, we have old generation. So that's been really cool to see. From a community development perspective, driving out there now and seeing kids walking the sidewalks is the whole point of why we did what we did. And to try to capture those who are looking to make an investment. Maybe they land a job at, let's say, Scheffler as an example. When that individual makes a decision as to where they're going to live, we want it to be an option here in Worcester so that you keep their tax base here local and can support the restaurants downtown and be a Worcester area generally. So again, we did also learn the infrastructure costs and land availability. It's expensive, and there are limited sites for this type of development to be undertaken. 63 homes sold in 12 months, 74 sold in 15 months. So the question is, what's next? And are we going to do something? And yeah, we are looking to do a project, and it is at the corner of Silver and Mechanicsburg. This is a site that we went to the city on and said, this is zoned for industrial. All of the investment for future industrial is out towards Daisy. The city has put in all the infrastructure. It's a beautiful professional park. How does the site compete? The answer is it doesn't. So we went to the city and said, we'd like to do a similar project here. The site that you're looking at where the field is at, it's about 45 acres. And so hopefully you know where that's at, we've received all the support that we were hoping we would receive to say, all right, let's move forward with this. Here's some different angles on the site. Here's what's proposed. So if you go back, you can kind of get a sense as to where things are at, and this gives you a lay of the land. So 108 lots, so a lot of lots. This is one of the largest developments that we've seen in probably more than 30 years, probably since Weaver Custom Homes undertook a similar project for maybe J. Baker Industries back to the day. And then what's being offered, we always like to be open about things. Our goal has always been the entry level homes. And some of the things that were discussed and what Ryan Holmes has learned is there's a lot of people looking for new homes. And the product that we're offering up at a high school, man, people just can't get there, right? There needs to be a lower level. So we are looking at, we call them entry level homes. And some of these prices may surprise you. Low 200s to 350 square footage, 1,500 to 1,900. You say, oh my gosh, it's 200 affordable, or is it entry level? What are the options, right? So we're trying to make this an option. However, speaking to the Ryan Holmes crew, they've said, listen, while there's a demand for the entry level here, there's still a demand for that mid-market, mid 200s to 400,000, kind of the product that we did Spring Run. So capitalism is a beautiful and ugly thing all in one, right? So they're saying, what do we do? Is it a mixed development? These are the decisions that are going to be made over the next 6 months, but we're going to get it ready for them to bring one of these two products to the market. Our project timeline, we learned a lot. The first project, I remember calling Merle saying, dude, I don't know what in the heck is going on here. He's like, relax, you're good. But we're going to be rather aggressive on this. We know the market's there. October of 24, groundbreaking over the winter, believe it or not. We feel as if we can do most of the utility infrastructure. If we get the winter like we did last year, we'll put all the infrastructure in. March and April, roadway infrastructure. Model home when we finished in the March of 25 as they break ground in December, which is like you break ground in December. Yeah, they can do it all year long, with the hope that these lots are marketed and being available to the customer in June of 25. So if we're able to pull that off, that's moving. That's in 10 months and everything would be done. And we plan to do it all in one phase. I've only got a couple more minutes. I flew through that actually. Some of the discussion that we're having locally is, okay, if you put those roadway or put all those homes on, then what about Silver Road? It's basically an unimproved road. And that's where the partnership with the city comes into play. This has been an area that they've talked about improving for quite some time. And while I won't speak on what their plans are, there is an analysis, a traffic study of which we have to pay for. It'll justify or kind of push things in a direction as to what the Silver Road is going to look like. And the only thing I would say on a personal level is some of the development do grow a little bit thicker skin. And it's been probably the hardest thing for me personally. I like people to like me. And so when you propose things in a field and your dad's a grain broker and you get called certain words, or people drive by and see you, or I live in the country and call me a hypocrite, that's understandable, I guess. But honestly, it's really good for me though too. The biggest discussion point on this development are these two trees. So people want us to save this big oak tree, which is a phenomenal oak tree, right? So much that I'm with that group. My mom is telling me, save that oak tree. Danielle's saying, hey, come on, can we save the oak tree? So I brought it up to our engineer, let's save the oak tree, right? And Merle's laughing. Said the very first thing we're going to do is skin everything back. So take some photos of the oak tree because it's going to be gone. But and we take that serious, and I think since I have a little bit of time, maybe a sidebar is pretty aggressive from the farming community saying you've screwed up 35 acres of farm ground at the high school. Now you're going to screw up 80 or 44 acres of farm ground down by Silver. So if we do that math, that's roughly 80 acres, right? My response is always, if you want to save farmland, then you develop farmland that's in the city. a comparable development. This is 200 homes that will eat up 80 acres. Those 200 homes out in the county to try to control sprawl would gobble up 500 acres. And if you think that's unrealistic, look at the Tri-Way District and look just north of 83. So as we continue to try to conserve farm ground, because it's very important to our overall, economy, and also it's kind of maintains our sense of place. These types of efforts, from our perspective, are a big supporter of farmland preservation. So with that, we have some time for questions. Didn't know how long this would go, so are there any questions at all on the development? Yes, Mr. Holtman.
Justin, I see that you've got the sidewalk in now from the development to Oak Hill Park.
Yes.
That looks really good. Thanks for getting that done.
Yep.
And that leads to the question about this one. That area, including Venture Boulevard, has virtually no sidewalks.
Yep.
And you would be within walking distance of the tennis club.
Correct.
Park. What's in the city plan to allow the residents here to walk to all those great things?
Appreciate the question, and it's very timely. There is a strong resistance by a couple of the employers to have sidewalks to come down to Venture, quite candidly. So we are working through that with the city. The traffic study is going to kind of show us the anticipated traffic patterns, Ron. But to your point, a connection from this development down to Clear Creek Park currently doesn't exist. So the way that the family would get down there would be walk down Venture, right? I anticipate the city's not going to let that happen. So there is some plans, very preliminary plans on how does this area become incorporated into the bike path, the overall city bike path that, sometimes the city gets criticized, bike paths just end in nowhere, right? This would be a part of that section, so there'd be a whole loop. The thought maybe is that that bike path can be located somewhere, and there can be that connection down to Clear Creek, generally in this area. But the traffic study will figure that out.
Hey, Justin.
Yeah.
Where did the people move from for Spring Run?
No, I do appreciate that question. Let me tell you a story. Actually, it's Melissa Mariola called me a year and a half ago and said, "Hey, Justin, like when are these Ryan Home things gonna be on board?" I'm like, it's up June. She said, "Okay, well," and this was got off the phone. Like, this is the point. She said, "I got a younger couple. They're looking in Norton. They want to buy a new home. They just want Ryan Home. Like, just put it up and just forget about it, right?" And it's not for everybody. Be the first to tell you that. So it's like, okay, she worked at Rain Associates. Her husband worked for Clintock Electric, couldn't find anything here. And they were going to settle for going to Norton. They had two small kids. And quite candidly, my perspective is that they're also always going to be a Norton Panther, right? They're not going to be Worcester. They're not going to stay here and buy the groceries locally or be downtown spending things. The point is that we've captured a lot of people that have looked outside the market. We've stolen a lot from Medina and Massillon that people are looking. They're now saying, well, now there's a local option. We are also seeing people that just like Worcester. One is an adjunct professor at Ashland University. The other one works in Massillon. In between is Worcester. They live here. They love it. So we've seen a lot of just younger generation looking for, even though they're higher, looking for their first home as well. Did that answer your question?
Where do you start? You took offense to your referral to North Panthers.
Not Panthers?
No, it's North Panthers. She's a North Panther.
Oh. Ms. Crawford, do you have a question back there? Yeah.
I think there are a lot of us that have wondered where people come from, but also what are your projections in terms of people who just move around and don't actually come from outside the community, but upgrade or family members stay here? percentage is really new and what is retention in terms of people, keeping people here?
Keeping people here, so like on the current development, is that what you're talking about?
Well, either or.
Okay. So if we go entry level, it's gonna hit more of the core that are people are looking to just plant themselves here because they've got a good job at one of the employers and they're gonna be part of the community. The second tier allows for some mobility, so we've seen give you 5% of the people up there are their kids live here and they bought a home in Spring Run because they wanted a home in Spring Run. We have a couple people from California and like, well, we like Worcester and our kids are here, so we're buying a home. So that will be more transient. They're older, right? So I think you're gonna see more turn at Spring Run. We know there's already one at Spring Run on the market for sale, right? Which is gonna help local real estate agents. The entry level homes will be more solidified, I feel, and longer term. Those who build will stay there longer, if that answers your question.
I guess my personal question is the community really growing because of the expansion of the housing, or is it just simply changing in other ways?
Yeah, so I feel the numbers, it is growing, right? So that's because our employment is growing, but without option for housing, then the population doesn't grow. So we know that the job growth is there, population should follow. The missing link is where does that job growth, where do they get housed? The hope is that it's in Worcester as opposed to somewhere else. And yes, the community is growing. Yep. Here, this is the professional here.
Justin, why you have an audience with this, you talk about farmland, and we constantly talk about preserving farmland. And I'm just bringing this up because you've got experience now, but also have people that are not talk about this and you watch development go in. I want to save farmland as much as anybody else. The thing that I think we need to change, not just here, but in a lot of places, is we're taking Columbus. I bought 85 acres. I can only put 24 lots on. I either have to dedicate half the green space or do 3-acre lots. That's a waste of the farmland. So the zoning has to change. The green space that we're dedicating forever, that we can't build a house on, we can't farm, we have to think differently than we have in the past to preserve farmland. We need to maximize how many houses we put in higher density. And if you know, some people are not city folk, like you want to live out in the county, live out in the county. The people that want to live in town don't want more acres anymore. Let's allow higher density. Yep. And keeps the land costs down. I can put twice as many houses on the 85 acres I bought at Columbus. Cuts the street cost, cuts the land cost in half. Yep. And we don't waste that land in the future. We need to be all cognizant of that. The city is in the process of reviewing some of their zoning stuff, which I think is great. We're not bad in Worcester, but we need to continue to look at those things as a society, not just here, all across the board. Once the land's dedicated to an area, we're not going to go back and put a subdivision inside a subdivision and treat both land.
Absolutely. Thank you for those comments. Anybody else? No? Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Appreciation of your time with us and your presentation. We present you the Rotary plaque, 4-way test on the back, produced by the Village Network students. Okay, thank you guests for coming. You're always invited back. Next week, Robin LaRue Beasley will host Matt Martin, who will talk about the 175th anniversary of the Wayne County Fair. We stand adjourned.
All right.